Good morning. Let's get started. My name is Mark Fucello, and I'm the Director of the Division of Economic Independence in the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation. And my division is responsible for putting this conference together each year. And we hope you had a productive and informative day yesterday, and I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the second day. And I'd like to tell you a few things about today's agenda, but before I do that, I would like to recognize everyone in my division, my team, I call them. Brendan Kelly, Molly Irwin, Gurley Wright, Michael Dubinsky, Erica Zalewski, Emily Schmidt, Matt Boris, Hillary Forster, Sarah Saddlemeyer, Katie Glenn, Jason Despain, and Akila Swinton. Each day, you guys put your shoulder to the wheel to discover meaningful knowledge in the service of the nation's vulnerable families. And as intelligent and diligent and dedicated as you are, you can't imagine the depths of my admiration for you. So keep up the good work. So today, at 2:45, we will hold simultaneous facilitated roundtable discussions in rooms noted in the conference program book. These will offer folks a chance for facilitated conversations on a range of topics, from assessing TANF agencies' research needs to replication and scale-up of evidence-based programs to the challenges of food insecurity and more. So once you identify a roundtable that interests you, find the location indicated in the program book. Signs on the tables will indicate where the discussions on specific topics are taking place in each room. If there's a large group of people in your topic area, please spread out and form smaller groups to discuss the topic at different tables or in different sections of the room. At 12 p.m., conference attendees who are interested in pursuing a career in research related to poverty, family self-sufficiency, and social welfare outside of academia can go to the congressional room for a lunchtime discussion. This panel will include 4 speakers from different backgrounds: federal government, state government, nonprofit, and a think tank research organization. They will discuss their careers in research and offer advice and answer questions. And while this panel is aimed at emerging scholars, we welcome everyone to attend. In addition to the roundtables, we also have 2 breakout sessions planned for the day at 10:15 and 1:15. And please join us back here in the Regency Ballroom at 4 p.m. for a plenary on family homelessness. That will conclude today's agenda. As a reminder, for those who will be viewing the upcoming plenary and other sessions via live stream, you can send questions to panelists at, if you're using email, at reclivestream@gmail.com or directly on the live stream site via the Submit a Question function or by tweeting with the hashtag RecLive. And one more note. If you haven't already, I encourage you to sign up for the OPRE e-newsletter. You can sign up on our website or at the OPRE booth that is set up across from the registration area. And you can also connect with us on Twitter using @OPRE_ACF and on Facebook. So now I would like to introduce Mary Alice McCarthy. She'll be our moderator for the next panel, working across TANF, adult education, and workforce systems to support career pathways for low-income populations. Mary Alice is OPRE's go-to colleague at the Office of Vocational and Adult Education at the U.S. Department of Education, and her work includes supporting a variety of policy reforms and evaluation efforts, including competency-based credentialing and career pathways. And prior to joining OVE, Dr. McCarthy worked in the Office of Workforce Investment in the Employment and Training Administration at the Department of Labor. Mary Alice.
Maybe I do that. There we go. Okay, good morning, everyone. And Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to the conference organizers for inviting me to be here today. This is a very exciting panel that we have. As Mark mentioned, I work in the Office of Vocational and Adult Education. Is this too loud, too quiet? Okay. Okay. I work in the Office of Vocational and Adult Education, which oversees two important pieces of legislation, the Carl D. Perkins Act for Career and Technical Education and the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. And that means that we end up having a lot of overlapping research interests and policy interests with our colleagues at the Administration for Children and Families and with our colleagues at the Employment and Training Administration, particularly around the economic and educational advancement of at-risk youth and low-skilled and low-income adults. So as a result, we find ourselves often in conversations with one another. And one of those areas of policy, overlapping policy interests, is career pathways, which is the focus of this panel. So our goal this morning with this panel is to highlight some of the very successful practices of folks working across different systems, workforce, education, and human service systems, to create comprehensive career pathway programs that enable youth and adults to succeed both in school and at work. We have 4 incredible leaders in this area who've been doing pioneering work for some years and have really been sort of figuring out how to do this work and teaching all of us at the federal level, hopefully, how we might be able to align our policies to better support it. So we're going to hear from practitioners who operate from different systems, from the public workforce system, from the community, from higher education and the community college systems, and from a community-based organization and labor management organization, and how they work to stitch together different funding streams and different funding streams and different sort of sources of support to make sure that their clients succeed. And then we also have a subject matter expert, Evelyn Ganzglass, who I'll introduce in a minute, who has been working on career pathways and supporting these efforts and sort of elevating everyone's awareness around the policy and programmatic implications of career pathways for some time. So we know that coordinating and integrating services and aligning them with the needs of the labor market is really what's at the heart of career pathways. Before I introduce more formally each of our panelists, though, I did want to spend a minute to talking about some of the efforts underway at the federal level to support the career pathways movement that's taking place at the state and local level. We are working, the departments of education, health and human services, and labor are actively working to try to keep ourselves sort of informed of one another's efforts and to do our best to align our programs and our investments so that they support the development and sustainability of these programs, of the career pathway programs at the state and local level. In particular, in 2009 and 2010, I would say the agencies started to become involved in each other's sort of discretionary formula and grant programs, and began sort of including one another in conferences and institutes that were directed at helping state and local areas build career pathways. The Department of Labor's Career Pathways Technical Assistance Initiative included, invited staff from ACF and labor to help our grantees. The Health Professionals Opportunity Grant Program also periodically invites in and consults with Department of Labor and Department of Education folks to help sort of think through or help their grantees and provide technical assistance. The TACT program, the Trade Adjustment and Community College Career Training Grants also, as those solicitations are developed, there's a lot of consultation across programs. Because we know that while we're asking, we know that there's growing evidence that coordinated and integrated service delivery works best for our clients, and we know that the more that we can sort of model that and facilitate that through better alignment at the federal level, the more that's likely to happen. So some of this informal cooperation that was happening in the last few years came together in a joint letter that we issued in 2012, in April of 2012, and this is the joint letter on career pathways that is highlighted here in this slide. And what this letter does is that it it's 3 federal departments, Departments of Labor, Education, and Health and Human Services, adopting a common definition for something, which might not sound like much, but actually is sort of a big lift at the federal level to get folks to come together on a single definition. And this is our definition of career pathways. And if we could go to the next slide. That definition then, which is on the next slide. Can I move the slides? There, pardon me. Okay, now we know. The green button. Okay, and so here is the definition of career pathways, a series of connected education and training strategies and support services that enable individuals to secure industry-recognized credentials and to advance both within their occupations and within their education. So this definition was an important sort of launching point for, again, how we can then incorporate a common language in our policies, in our investments, and in our guidance. And the definition also includes a set of key components of what a career pathways program is. And I just want to point this out. This is, in the letter, we have a very detailed definition of what career pathways are. It's not a definition, unfortunately, that fits on the back of an envelope, but it is a very comprehensive definition. And so if you look at these different elements of what makes a career pathways program, you'll see that it's really all about making sure that the programs are comprehensive, that they're geared towards the learning needs of adults and non-traditional learners, and that they're aligned with the labor market. No career pathway program has all of these elements, but every career pathway program has some of these elements. So the departments issued this letter, and then we formed an interagency staff working group that is continuing to look for opportunities to coordinate our technical assistance, coordinate our communication around career pathways, and hopefully continue to find ways to help states and local areas stitch together these different programs. So I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. Our interagency working group is continuing to work. As a next step, we are hoping to issue a request for information, so keep an eye out for that in the fall, which will come out across our different systems, asking state and local areas more and practitioners more about what are the barriers and what are, to actually implementing career pathway programs and actually doing what we asked folks to do in the letter, which is to adopt these approaches. So this morning, we're going to hear from three folks who have, as I said, been real pioneers in developing these programs, sustaining these programs, and scaling these programs. We're going to start by hearing from Cheryl Feldman, who is the Executive Director of District 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund, which is a labor management educational trust fund with 50 contributing employer partners and the National Union of Hospital and Healthcare Employees and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, or AFSCME. Ms. Feldman has helped develop the fund's Learning Center into a comprehensive educational career center providing a wide range of career services, literacy and English language classes, credentialed skills training, and collegiate programs. And the center annually serves 16,000 adults and youth residing in southeastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. It provides services to a diverse population of unemployed adults and youth and incumbent workers, and provides them access to career pathways education, primarily in the healthcare fields, health information, human services, and childcare. Then we're going to hear from Marléna Sessions, who is the Chief Executive Officer with the Workforce Development Council in Seattle-King County. Marléna has been the Chief Executive Officer of the WIB in Seattle-King County since 2009 and has guided that council to national prominence as an innovative leader in job training initiatives. 2010, the Working for America Institute named the organization one of the top 4 workforce boards in the United States. And as you read Marléna's bio, it sort of is a testament to the importance of partnerships. Marléna sits on the Executive Committee for the Economic Development Council of Seattle and King County. She is a member of the Seattle Community College Chancellor's Advisory Committee. She's on the South King County STEM Network. She serves on the Washington Families Fund Leadership Committee. She is also a member of she is president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Workforce Development Council and a founding member of the National Advisory for Connecting Homeless Job Seekers to the Workforce System. So we see someone spanning many systems here, and as I think we'll hear about what an important part of building career pathways that is. Next, we'll move up from the local level to the state level and hear from Karon Rosa of the Arkansas Department of Higher Education. Dr. Rosa has more than 40 years of educational experience and serves as the program director of the Arkansas Career Pathways Initiative. This initiative serves low-income students in Arkansas at Arkansas's 2-year colleges. It has enrolled more than 27,000 students and issued more than 24,000 certificates and degrees since 2005. The Career Pathways Initiative has received almost $90 million in TANF funds from the Department of Workforce Services to support the initiative, which takes place at 25 colleges in Arkansas. So these will be our three panelists, and then we will have we'll hear from Evelyn Ganzglass, who will sort of provide some comments and reactions to the three panelists. Evelyn is the Director of Workforce Development of the Workforce Development Team at CLASP. She has extensive experience in workforce development policy, education, economic development, and social service policies and programs, and she leads CLASP's national and state advocacy and technical assistance efforts related to post-secondary and adult education, workforce development, career pathways, and credentials. And for anybody who's been working in career pathways, we know that CLASP has really been out there sort of educating all of us about what's happening at the state level, what the policy implications are of these programs, and also providing a lot of technical assistance about how to actually do the work, stitch together the programs, and braid the funding. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Cheryl.
Good morning. I'm really honored to be on this panel with such distinguished members, a lot of years of service and a lot of experience up here, so it's wonderful to be here. And I'm excited to share a little bit about what we've developed at a regional level in the Philadelphia area. Our goal has been, as we evolved over the years, and you know in working with these partnerships programs that it's always evolving, right? It's always an evolution. But our goal has been to integrate academic skill instruction with employability skill instruction and occupational skill instruction resulting in credentials so that our graduates can get jobs that really are family sustaining for them. Here's a little picture of some of our graduates, and we serve very diverse populations, youth to adults. We have TANF recipients, dislocated workers, immigrants, refugees, as well as incumbent workers. Since we are a partnership of 50 employers in the Philadelphia area, we are really serving the needs of those healthcare employers. And so it's a really incredible mix of people who are working, people who are not working, but all kind of within this one system of career pathways where people can enter where they need and get the skill sets that they need. So Mary Alice shared a little bit about our background. It's interesting to just note that I report to a board that's half employer representatives and half labor representatives. And so we are hearing the employer voice, we're hearing the worker voice, and that has been really critical to our ability to innovate and stay attuned to what the needs are in the workplace and ensure that our programs are aligned with those needs. We have organized our programs in one kind of vision, although there are myriad funding sources that support that vision. And I'll try to get into that in a little bit. But we have a nursing pathway, behavioral health, allied health, health information, and also childcare. The context in Philadelphia is similar to many large urban areas. We have a great deal of poverty. Even folks in the workforce, there are just an inordinate number, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but of low-wage workers themselves, many of them healthcare workers. And we have a big literacy problem in Philadelphia. Over half of the adults, that includes working and non-working adults, that's more than 500,000 residents, have literacy issues. And so we have a mismatch between the great healthcare jobs, which require skills and credentials, and a population which is educationally disadvantaged and is not prepared to really move into those jobs without quite a bit of work being done. So I do want to share with you that in Philadelphia, we're lucky that the healthcare industry is the largest employer. And the great thing about healthcare, for those of you who work in this industry, you know that there's a wide range of employment opportunities, and that's great for us in preparing low-wage workers because we can help people move up a pathway as long as we align our programs with the credentials and educational steps required by those pathways. And with emerging new jobs, help create those pathways in partnership with our employers. So the major aspects of our model, and again, this evolved over time, but it really has been the vision that drives the whole agency at this point. And we serve over 4,000 students a year. As Mary Alice noted, in total, 16,000 people come to us for assessment services and career services, but about 4,000 of those are in classes. And so we have to have a vision of what that looks like in terms of a career pathway system in healthcare. And you'll see in a minute, we kind of tweaked a OVE-DOL model to align our educational programs with the steps on the pathway articulated with collegiate level work, as well as a kind of a wraparound career coaching support service. So I don't know if you can see this, but it is really our organizing model. And what we did is we took the various educational levels, starting with the adult basic education skills, moving all the way up through the bachelor's degree, and then these are just examples on the bottom for the 4 different pathways that we offer. There are many, many other examples that could be put in place, but what we've attempted to do is at each of the academic levels integrate occupational coursework that those individuals qualify for. So you could start at any point in the pathway. An incumbent worker who's already a nurse aide might start at that mid-level certification where they're trying to go for LPN, or even right into the RN program. Whereas somebody coming off of TANF who hasn't had a strong work history might have to start at the first level, the semi-skilled position. The idea is that our teachers, our faculty who work on the academic side have enough professional development that, and as much as we can get them so they understand the pathways, they can contextualize coursework, and sometimes very specific to those pathways, and help the students to really have a plan in their head, and that's what the career coaches do, of what their next steps are and how they're going to get there. So this is just an example for you of some of the family-sustaining jobs that we're preparing students for. We do much more than this, but I wanted to give you a sense. If we can start a TANF recipient out an $11 an hour job with benefits, we feel that we've gotten them a good start. And if we can start them at $13 an hour, even better. But the idea is that we need to get the students the credentials, and we need to have the employer partners, and this is so key, lined up so that we can really have real jobs for these folks when they're finished. So I'd like to share with you some of the pipeline programs and aspects and give you some real examples. First of all, in terms of contextualized basic skills, we've heard a lot about this. We try it all. We try not to leave any stone unturned. So in some cases, it's a pre-employment program that students are in. In other cases, we're trying to blend the literacy with the occupational training in the same program. And in other cases, we've used the IBEST model where we have a teacher who's teaching literacy and a teacher who's teaching the occupational program in the same classroom. We do whatever we can do to align the funding sources to make that possible. And also, wherever possible, link it to collegiate level programs. And we have some amazing programs. in partnership both with community colleges and with universities. I need to mention that Temple University, who I think is in the audience, is part of this collegiate pipeline program at this point, where students are able to move up through an HPOG grant all the way from entry-level occupational training through a coding certificate to an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. And Temple has done a phenomenal job, and we're part of that program in helping to organize that great project. We've also developed a behavioral health pipeline, and why I think this one is so great is because our technical program has been vetted for 21 college credits. So the students don't have to repeat it. They take the technical, they move right into college, and with 3 more courses, they have a 30-credit college certificate onto their associate degree and their bachelor degree. And as a result, people who have never been to college before, never dreamed of it, we now have 50 associate degree graduates after, I think it's 4 years, and moving on. Many more examples, including our 39-credit coding certificate with Camden County College. As most of you know, and I hope we can get more and more evaluations on this, because in my opinion, career coaching is key to the success of any program. I'd like to give you, and I'm trying to run through these quickly, but similar to HPOG, in the old days, during Welfare to Work, we had a $4.4 million TANF grant, cohort training, lot of incentivized wraparound services and other supports for the students. And I was just so proud that after 1 year, we still had a 71% retention for a population that basically had very little work history previous to that. And 93% of those were full-time jobs. And it just shows you what can be done if the services are available, in my opinion. Right now, however, we've really moved to a different time, and we find that to be successful, we need to blend our funding sources. That's the only way to make it work, is through partnerships, whether it's the partnership that Temple has offered us, or whether it's partnerships that we create ourselves, where we put together the We at Title II dollars with We at Title I workforce dollars, with foundation dollars, with our employer dollars, whatever it takes to fund that pathway and the steps along that pathway, we will put together myriad funding sources to make it work. The key is that you have the vision of what that career pathways is, and then you align the funding sources to make it possible. I just wanted to give you an example. We have our own practical nursing program, our own nurse aid program. In the past, we would have strictly TANF funds, where we had cohorts of nurse aides and cohorts of LPNs that were funded no longer. And so in order to help TANF recipients to do this, we have to identify other funding opportunities, which we work very, very hard to do. We fund them through WIA individual training accounts. We fund them through foundation grants that we raise. We fund them through a DOL grant that we happen to have right now for the long-term unemployed. We do whatever we can to put together a funding package for these individuals. The key, in my opinion, and I skipped the slide below, I just wanted you to see some of our employer partners. The man on the right is our union president, and then the employers there are from Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, who has been a great partner to us. When you're working closely with employer partners, you can design programs that look totally different than if they weren't at the table. You can upfront design on-the-job training where employers are getting a wage incentive, and then work backwards to prepare the students to qualify for those OJTs through the literacy classes and the workforce classes. And those learn and earn partnerships, I think, have been phenomenal for our students. And we've replicated that in a number of programs. If you wrap those programs around with a career coach who's helping that student arrived to that vision, and you have aligned a group of stakeholders, which we have done in an industry partnership where you have higher ed, employers, the public workforce system, other funders in the same room talking together about how we're designing these systems and how we're going to prepare the students for those jobs. It's just a win-win for everybody. And if anyone's in Philadelphia, happy to have you come and tour our facility and get a sense of our programs. So we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about the relationship building on the employer side. We've learned a lot about creating a vision that is seamless to the student, where they can really see what the discrete steps are. It's transparent to them, and we can move them through. We've learned a lot by integrating funding sources so we can have an integrated education model, obviously the career coaching, and most of all, we learned we must be flexible, because at least in healthcare, it changes very rapidly, and we have to really look at those emerging jobs and ensure that we create programs not just for the traditional jobs, but for the emerging jobs coming down the pike. And then next week, June 5th, our graduation. These happen to be GED graduates from our last year, but I would venture to say that the majority of them are now finishing up occupational programs in healthcare and moving on into employment. So thank you very much.
Hey, good morning and greetings from Seattle, Washington, where it's very wet and rainy right now. So I'm delighted to be here on many levels. I am Marléna Sessions, and as Mary Alice, I think, mentioned a couple times, yes, I'm a veteran in workforce, lots of years. I won't go into how many, but certainly want to start by thanking you for all of your work, because as a veteran, as many years into the field of workforce development, I know this is not easy work, and your commitment to it is very important. So I really, whether you're at the practitioner level or the research and evaluation level, we need you all in this field, so thank you, and stick with it, please. I am a workforce board director, a WIB, if you will. Shout out to Clyde McQueen, my peer here as well. And the public workforce system, has come a long way, baby, and I'm here to tell you that in terms of some of the same themes that you're hearing in terms of trying new things, innovating, piloting, and researching, and being a think tank even. We in Seattle, Washington, and King County, which is my local area, Martin Luther King Jr. County, we, in addition to overseeing the one-stop system and the youth programs that we do, and definitely taking a sectoral approach to our work, we like to think of ourselves as a mini think tank, and we try stuff, and we do stuff, and some of it works, and it's great, and we go on for several years and expand, and others, we learn from those other things. But what I want to share with you today is 3 very simple, and I can't emphasize enough, very simple models. The key, the difficulty, if you will, the challenge is in actually doing them. But as far as grasping what the models are, they're very simple and very effective, I'd have to say. So green button here, right? Oh, top green one. Thank you so much. Several years ago, we were blessed with a small grant, but a significant grant from the Aspen Institute to start looking at something that's now become part of all of our vocabulary, something called a navigator model. And we talk about working across systems in this theme of this discussion, and I love that way of talking. And I think in reality, too, we need to say and recognize that sometimes we're working around systems, right? We're having to do some workarounds to make things work and put all these things together. And the navigator could be argued, and maybe a good rebuttal of why are all of our systems so complicated and complex that we actually need to add a navigator? Is that the case? And I would tell you, yes, that is the case. So some of the discussions around my shop now are, let's put the navigators out of business. Let's get this figured out to the point where we don't need so many layers. But I have to tell you, thanks to some great evaluation years after, it's been about a 10-year trajectory for us on navigators. Aspen found that they are effective. The evaluation came through with kind of we were even amazed at the statistics. With a navigator involved, an individual is 95% placed, okay? And in this particular study that was done, without the navigator, it was only 40%. And this was in a field of automotive at Shoreline Community College in the north part of my local workforce area. So it is a complex system. It's important to, or complex systems, plural. It's important to recognize that for both employers and job seekers. But we've seen great things with plugging in a navigator. And we started with employer navigators, making sure they were very industry specific. As I mentioned, automotive. We've taken that to community college navigators, navigating the community college system within and around workforce with TANF recipients, with all job seekers through the public workforce and WEA system. And most recently, in the last couple of years, we've been trying a pilot of homelessness navigators for homeless individuals. One of my passions was always back to systems getting together. Why can't homeless individuals and families access better the public workforce system, the thing that I represent and work for every day? And we've made some progress. We're getting there, but we've still got a long way to go. So we've been trying some homeless navigators for homeless individuals and families. Again, taking the services out to wherever the job seeker is, and then making sure that on the other end of that, the employer, as Cheryl themed very well, is there as well. So navigation has made sense for us. It has made the job seeker experience much more streamlined, and it forces some collaboration amongst and betwixt those various systems. I was a little disappointed, I have to say, the first year that we started out with our homelessness navigator. We wanted to go great guns and refer X number of individuals and get them through training and get them to jobs. That first year, we had to train our own system, multiple systems. We had to do the professional development to make sure people understood, are we dealing with a different clientele now? Are there unique circumstances? Are there barriers and biases within our own 300 different professionals in our Seattle system? So baby steps, baby steps. The second very simple model, I have to stress that these are so simple, and I have to give a lot of credit. It goes back further, as Cheryl mentioned, but the time that we in Seattle really came into this cohort model and became big believers and big utilizers was during the Recovery Act. Back in 2009, we heard we were getting an injection of funds. Thanks to the ARRA, we quickly said, we can do cohorts? What are those? And this was a time when I'm blessed with 11 community and technical colleges in my workforce area. So I make it my business to get to know those 11 colleges as much as I can. My staff certainly knows them better and is in the trenches with them. But this was a time when our community colleges were saying, we don't have capacity. We can't just keep taking these, thanks WEA, but we can't keep taking these individual training account one-offs. It doesn't do us a lot of good. And so we found that quickly moving in April of 2009 into an RFP for as many cohorts as people could come up with, as a workforce board, we found we could negotiate costs down in a better fashion. We were buying the whole package. We were buying a whole class. We were buying books and supplies, certainly the instructor, the lab, the bricks and mortar, you name it. We were buying the whole package. And we also, using that leverage, if you will, of purchase power and competition, we were able to say, we know you don't have a crystal ball. We didn't know we were all entering the greatest recession of our lifetime in April of 2009. But you have to show us really quickly some programs across these 11 community and technical colleges, across many industries, that have jobs at the end of them. Let's not be crystal ball about this. Let's not project too much. These are tough times. We've got to get this money out. We've got to get some people trained and back into the labor force. And we were so delighted once we put the money out, pushed it out. We were able to, again, negotiate costs down. We were able to get jobs that had self-sufficient wages in a very tough time of labor market. And then immediately added scale, so the community colleges were happy that they were able to use late afternoon, weekend, compress some of their curriculum. They were very nimble, very responsive, became very creative about some of the things that they were able to do. They brought in extra tutors if there was a need for that. So we really just became big believers in the cohort model back then, and ever since. We were blessed with an HPOG grant as well in Seattle-King County. That whole grant was written on cohort models, and we're still seeing 90 and 100% employment and retention coming out of those cohorts. I remember a conversation, I was new to my job in '09, and I remember a conversation with Evelyn, who came out to pay us a visit, and I said, you know, we're finding such motivation by the peer support that comes out of these projects, these cohorts. The students themselves are helping each other get through and retain and on. And she said, well, you know, that was part of the idea of when we designed it. That was unintended on my part, but hey, that was a fabulous model. So can't thank the brains behind whoever invented the cohort model enough, but we really, and under the Workforce Investment Act, we've sort of continued to take risks and do more cohorts, and we will continue as long as it's allowable, and even after it's not allowable, we'll find the money that is. So that's that, working around and working across systems. And then finally, the third model, well, it may not sound very job seeker specific, it is back to, if we aren't letting industry lead us, if we don't have employers at the table in real time, which is ever changing, and I'm responsible, if you will, for all sectors, which is a challenge, then we aren't doing our job seekers any favors whatsoever. So these sector panels is the third tool or model that we use a lot in Seattle-King County. And it's simply, again, simple concept, a time-sensitive convening of employer leaders in one particular industry. In Washington State, there was something called skills panels, which is sort of what we've modeled, but I always want to refer to them as sector panels, industry panels, because I don't want to make any assumptions going into these panels and say it's about skills. We need to hear from the employer at that moment in time. What is it about? Is it about you need skilled up workers? Is it about an aging out? Is it about outreach and recruitment of the future workforce? Is it about your particular industry doesn't get enough love in the world and doesn't have a great reputation, and we can help you with that? Sometimes it's a marketing issue, a PR issue. So we do sector panels as often as we can, as many as we can at one time. It's a staffing thing. We as the Workforce Board staff them, and this is 6 meetings, no more than that. We make a commitment to these industry leaders. Your time will not be wasted. During that 6 meetings, there's a cycle of how a panel goes. The first couple meetings are confusing and a lot of brainstorming, a lot of dialogue. Then we get into what lever can we pull at this very particular real time in this industry, and then we either go find some money to do something or bring the money that we know we have already to the table, and then we make a product at the end. And right now I have a maritime panel running, and I have a healthcare panel running, and I'm about to launch at the request of some local government elected officials in my area, a government sector panel, which I'm not sure what that's going to be yet, but I'm excited to try it. So the sector panel model is just something, again, if we're a think tank, if we're innovative, if we want to keep in touch with the industry, we need to do real-time check-ins, and it's a way and a tool that we found that really helps us do those real-time check-ins. We do focus on one industry. We keep it compressed, one industry. We also are guilty of micromanaging who gets to be at that table. We've found that if we invite everybody, the employers plus everyone else, at least at the first couple meetings, the employers look around the table and think, why am I here? So we're very careful that the employers get the loudest voice. We listen to their voice, they lead. We also bring in training providers, of course, labor, of course, trade associations, of course, economic development, but we're careful about how those meetings are staffed, and we do see products come out of them. I have to tell you that 10 years ago, it's because of the panel that we started 10 years ago, our very first one in healthcare. We're on part 2 of healthcare now. That we believe that got us to tens of thousands of people in career pathways in our local hospitals, to a specific grant, thanks to HBOG, that is doing more of the same. And again, it's impacted tens of thousands of individuals and employers in our area. So getting 6 or 8 of the key industry leaders around a table for a compressed time, staffing it really well, making sure there's some money there to do something with, and listening to industry, letting industry lead has really been an absolutely great tool. So 3 simple models, very simple concepts, and of course, the trick is just do it, right? So that's That's it for me for right now. Thank you. Let's see. That way.
I love that all the women at this table have said we have many, many years of experience. So this is your Wisdom Women's panel this morning, and delighted to have the room fill up, because wouldn't you love all the requests? I watched a Democratic or a gubernatorial candidate this morning say, you know, for every state, what we actually should be working at is the immediate crisis, which is jobs. And that's exactly what we're doing with every one of the models here today. We're connecting something, we're either connecting the employer to education or connecting education to employment. So I'm delighted to be here with you and share our model. Our model in Arkansas has been a state partnership. And I think the thing that when I was talking with my mentor in the room, Shauna King Sims from the Kentucky Community College System, and the Wisdom women here, we all in a short time identified the most immediate barrier to all of this is the communication breakdown. You know, state agencies working together, or employers working with higher ed, or nonprofits working with higher ed and employers. It's the acronyms you come with. It's the misunderstanding. It's the hidden rules within an agency that prevent a lot of things that we all know would make this a great nation. It's just understanding those. And just like she said, as simple as having a meeting, having a set time for a meeting. And so the barrier seems to be that of miscommunication or living in our own silo. In 2005, now which one do you punch? In 2005, I came from a world of higher ed. I had worked so many years in higher ed that I was retired. And I thought I understood higher ed quite well, and I did. But we wrote a proposal. We found out that an agency in our state, and at that time it was HHS, received TANF funds. Now, I sat at the table after I was retired and had the most wonderful career in the world. I worked 2 days a week as a consultant for the Department of Higher Ed, and I'd worked with state agencies all over the United States, so I thought this is simple. And it was like Mission Impossible. I would go in, have my assignment on a computer that's when you had computers only on desk, a computer of someone who was not there that day. And I came in one day in November, December, and it said, we have a proposal. We've been to National Governors Association. We found out about these funds that might be available for higher ed, so we'd like you to write a proposal. So I did exactly what you did. I convened people, you know, we all do this, employers or educators, we have a meeting about it. So I had a meeting and I said, okay, if we could partner these two agencies and these funds, what would we do? They started throwing out acronyms, and like I said, I was already retired from higher ed. I did not understand. I didn't know what TANF meant. I didn't know what T meant. I didn't know what degrees of relationship as a parent meant, you know, all of that. And I would just jot notes as fast as I can. And there was another consultant there from Workforce Strategy Systems in New York, and I took all the notes and I would go home and look them up. You know, it's like, what does all this mean? You know, I thought this was going to be easy. I spent my entire Christmas vacation writing this proposal, handed it in, and they were out of extra help money, so I retired again. But it was a great proposal. It was like a dream. I thought, oh, I've used all the words. And at that time, honestly, in 2005, if we had had a panel like this, I would have traveled to the end of the earth to hear about career pathways, because all you could find was a little bit that Davis Jenkins had written on career pathways. You know, so I put all of this, like we do as educators, I piled all this research into the proposal. I wrote as much as I could about each agency, and at that time, again, it was HHS. But I read in the paper and saw on the news that they actually got a grant for $12 million. And I was just blown away. I thought, this is so good. But then when they had money and I started working again at the agency as a consultant part-time, I was almost afraid to go back to that division. like, oh my gosh, they're going to find out that I wrote all of these directions and did it really work, you know, for two agencies, one to be the lead agency and one to be the funding agency, did it work? Well, it worked, and we thought it would work for about 5 years, and we are now in our 8th year with the Career Pathways Initiative and the Arkansas model that really is a partnership between two state agencies, and it's actually mandated or codified in law. They, you know, the wisdom of our legislators, they said this may not work unless we write the rules for it. So we're codified in law, and it said that the local WIBs would be the one, you know, to give advice on what programs we should do. DWS, at the very same time, our TANF funding in Arkansas was moving over from HHS to DWS. So it's almost been like, what's the old saying, the blind leading the blind. You know, they were new with the funding, we were new with the lead, so it's been a great partnership of learning, I think, for all of us. And all of our funding, our direct student support for the students, is through the TANF block grant in Arkansas that goes to HHS. This page has a lot on it, way too much, but it's the overview, and it's exactly what you've heard today. It's connecting, and again, we wrote these things in the proposal, and I look back at them and go, oh my gosh, we have to do this now. It's closing the educational gap in Arkansas so that it has an effect on the economic gap. So I put a lot of material on the slides. You're welcome to the slides. I'm sure they'll have the slides available. And again, it's just telling you that if you're writing a framework like this, we said that the educational institutions would be the two-year colleges in Arkansas because their mission was employment. Most of them end with an associate degree that's designed not for transfer, but as a terminal degree into employment. So the grant is sub-granted from Department of Workforce Services, the TANF funds are. We get a grant award at ADHE, and then we subcontract with the two-year colleges, and the two-year colleges actually have the 25 career pathway sites that we have in Arkansas. So we had another connection that we had to do too, and that's work with the presidents at the two-year college, which was, again, another thing of, it's not just a Pell Grant, it's not just more funds for the student. There really is a method to this madness. We have to track these students, and we have to make sure that, as you said, there's an employer out there, there's an employer that's ready, that you're working with the employer all the time, that you're actually dancing with all the partners at the same time. After the first year, they wore out. An admiral in the Navy, you remember that, Shauna, was the first director, and he said, I can't take this anymore. And they said, we're going to put your part-time hours in there. And I was like, what's the problem? And it's like, DWS thinks he's asking the same question all the time. Well, he wasn't, because we have to use TANF guidelines to ensure that the student is eligible, and it could be the grandmother that would be the custodial parent. It could be the mother's sister that was the custodial parent. So to them, it was the same question. To us, it was something very different on establishing the criteria for eligibility, and that was left with the HHS, and the funds were coming from DWS. So I said, okay, I'll just go back full-time. This sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like I'm going to learn a lot of things. Little did I know how much I would learn with connecting all of those agencies. But we connect two state agencies, actually connect with not only the two-year colleges, but we use the DWS local case management, and HHS. So a lot of times provides other services. WIB provides services. So we came up with a real neat term that we called linking all the resources in the local communities. Now, as a state director, and being the age that I am, I think you can just mandate everything and say, okay, in 75 counties, what are the HHS rules for childcare? Guess what? They're different. Depending on the culture of that county, depending on where the office is located, it may not even be located in the county. And so all of those things. So I also had to back up and say, okay, let's just build systems, like you said, let's just build a system that collects the big picture. So what are the standards? What are the resource documents? So we backed all the way up to the law. And again, our legislators had said you have to measure enrollment, You have to measure attainment. You have to measure whether or not the client got a job and if they were retained in the job. So I said, okay, let's just back up. Let's build systems for those. And as long as the 25 sites are measuring this, and as long as we're making sure that they're staying TANF eligible, then it's going to have to be, those systems need to be, in the beginning we had only 11 of the two-year colleges would take it on, and we had 25 in the state. So let's do systems that we can replicate, but let's make them simple enough that they only capture what is needed within the grant and to sustain the grant, and then let's let it be the culture of that two-year college and the local offices. And that's the only way the presidents would take it on, and it's made it work for us. So you do have to listen to your partners, whether they be your two-year colleges, whether they be your employers, the HHS office. So we've had to make it work not only 25 ways at the two-year colleges, but we have 75 counties, and those are county offices, so 75 ways. We have 10 local workforce investment boards that some of them were as formal as just having a lunch and forgetting it. Some of them wanted to be very involved. Some of them have done a lot of the student support. Some of them have done, like you said, the ARA funds and the sectoral things. So we've been blessed to get connected with those, because I think the two-year colleges had a very formal relationship with them and didn't use them to the extent of linking resources. And if our grant money goes away, I feel that that will be one of the sustainables, one of the unintended consequences of the career pathway system. Even if the federal money goes away, there will be that link of local resources that if a student is really unprepared and does not have resources, the two-year college will know how to do it. So our purpose, again, was a work, and the presidents, we had just gone with North Central, and they had moved up from vocational schools to two-year colleges and go North Central. So it was a little hard for the presidents to digest, again, that there was going to be a work-based learning program with some performance measures on it. And so to make real believers out of them, and again, you know, I feel like if you think hard enough, you can come up with a system. So we asked our funder if we could reserve $1 million of the funding for performance measures at the end of the year. So the presidents didn't like it, but you're measured on enrollment, attainment, not just reported placement, but do your completers match your unemployment insurance data that's housed in another agency? Can you connect to that data? Can you match it? And then 6 months later, are they still there? And 12 months later? And that was probably the biggest barrier with the presidents. They were not real receptive to reporting, but then when you put $1 million on it, and some of the colleges earned up to $70,000 in incentive funds, you still had to spend it on TANF-eligible expenditures, but it was like at the college's discretion where they spent it. And they might need laptops because they were a very rural area. They might need computer cards for access for mothers at night that study at 10 o'clock. So it made believers out of them that we really were going to measure. We were serious about it to sustain the grant. We had to. And one of the things when we were identified as one of the 10 most promising pathways last year, one of our notable, and again, it was unintended, but we're so delighted we have it, is a rich database with 33,000 records on it with unit record data on every one of them, because we did do the measures. We said we're going to be serious about this. This is what it says we measure by law, and we're going to make sure we have systems that can be verified. You know, did a student really get a GED? Well, we didn't collect that at higher ed. They collected at career ed. So we collect all of those records and are very fortunate that we also wrote, and I don't know where this came from, we wrote in 5 state staff, and someone said last week to me, what do you think makes the difference in this? And some grants collapsing at the two-year college in a year. And I said, you have to have a driver. You have to have someone who's responsible. If everyone was responsible, nobody's responsible. And our career coaches program in Arkansas is a great example, great program. I believe in it, but they did not have a data collector the first year, so they lost their TANF funding. within a year, because they didn't have that to back it up. And we made sure from the very beginning that we collected our own data and we built a data system around it. So again, the purpose of it is to encourage upward education and career mobility. The key objectives, now DWS wrote these into our state plan, our memorandum of agreement. They wanted to increase their work participation rate. They wanted to increase basic skills. They wanted to increase attainment of college-level certificates and associate degrees and improve job retention, and they wanted to increase self-sufficiency. They said, what do you want as a partner? We said, well, we'll just go with the law. We'll say that within higher ed, we'll drive for enrollments. We'll take on the extra that the current T. Now, in Arkansas, TANF does not mean a cash recipient. Our TANF criteria is written into our MOA, and it's very broad. In Arkansas, our temporary assistants for employment assistance are our cash recipients of T. And our population, the reason it's much larger than some other programs, is within that we capture the T population, which is the cash assistance, that they will have a case manager with DWS, and their funds, they also receive some T funds, and it runs about 12% every year. In the beginning, when we did the data on the counties and the two-year colleges, they were running less than 10%. So we've increased that, but it's still a population that's very hard. And she's saying, stop, and I didn't watch. Let me do my, somebody asked for performance measures. Again, we've had over 90 million. That's our pathway we developed. Our program successes, I don't know how to go backwards. I just skipped over it. Which one is back?
There's an arrow on the bottom.
I'll hand it back to you so I won't do any more slides. Our program successes, again, we've enrolled over 27,000 students. 24,000 of them have some kind of attainment, and that can be duplicated on our entered employment, where we match it to the unemployment insurance data. We meet every goal. Over 50%, 55% of them have to stay in Arkansas. We have a lot of border schools. Our largest program is Allied Health, and then we have to meet an 80% benchmark at 6 months and 12 months. Thank you. She said, stop.
I guess this is working now, right? So let me go on to the next. Yes. Excuse us. Okay, why don't I start and you figure.
I'll see what oh, there you go. I think you got there.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
It worked. So as, there we go. As you've heard from this panel, there really has been a lot of experimentation. There's growing evidence that a more integrated, holistic approach, a cohort approach, really does have better success, both in terms of more positive labor market outcomes, educational outcomes, that students are able to persist and get to credentials at an increasing rate. There is a lot of interest in career pathways, a room full of people early in the morning coming to listen to career pathways. Mary Alice talked about federal guidance in this area. Career pathways has been built into all kinds of discretionary funding at the federal level. Foundations have poured money into it. So this is really the topic du jour. And yet, there seems to be a lot of confusion about what is career pathways, or what isn't a career pathway. Everything seems to be a career pathway at the moment. And this is not to say that the work isn't good, but there's just a lot going on within this bucket of career pathways. So we thought that it was really important, in order to move the field forward, to really build a strong evidence base about career pathways, to bring some clarity to how all these pieces fit together, and what we really mean by high-quality career pathways, programs, and systems. And I want to highlight the programs and systems part. This is just a slide from Oregon that we stole that just shows the cacophony around career pathways. Bridge programs, navigators, contextualization, support services, take, whichever words you want, they're in this, this picture, and they do all fit together. But the question is really, how do they do that? So about a year ago, with support from the Irvine Foundation and the Joyce Foundation, CLASP joined in partnership with 10 states, including Washington State and Arkansas. You'll see Virginia, Wisconsin, other states are included in that. And the purpose of this partnership is really to do two things. One is to identify a framework that defines high-quality career pathway systems, and I'll show you some slides on that, including quality criteria and indicators. So what really are, if you really want to define what a high-quality system is, what would be the elements of that, and how would you know at the state and local level that you have those in place? And then we are in the process of developing a set of shared performance metrics, both for measuring and managing their success. Measuring, thinking more in terms of performance management, and managing more in terms of continuous improvement and how those fit together. As I said, we're working with 10 states. These states have put together teams of people from community colleges, adult education, workforce, TANF, employer groups, state folks, as well as local people. There's a traveling team where we meet together, and then there's a home team, a much broader one, that is going to review all of the materials. We have a national advisory committee, and Cheryl is part of that, aren't you? I think you are. Or you know, you're not. Somebody, I'm sorry. We have a broad national advisory committee on career pathways. Hopefully next week, I believe it will be next week, we will be coming out with the beta version of both the criteria and indicators, as well as the performance metrics. And I want to say they are a beta version. They're going out to the 10 states. Which will spend the next several months carefully going through all the materials that have been developed, providing feedback, and then next spring we hope to be issuing the first beta version, because with all the research coming in, they'll be changing all along. We have a working definition of career pathways, which is consistent with the federal one, but really was developed by the state and local folks who came together. And we really tried to move away from the notion of a structured sequence of activities to a more flexible approach that helps people progress along, but that they can accelerate, they can move in and out, they do move in and out. So it's a more flexible kind of approach. I want to spend a couple of minutes on these slides, so I'm going to go through this really quickly. The point of this is a picture or a figure demonstrating what a local system is trying to do. It really has multiple on-ramps or entry points to accommodate people who are coming with different skill levels, with different levels of experience, with different potential barriers to employment. There are multiple exit points leading to family-sustaining employment, to credentials, to entry into further education and training, going as far as people can go. Pathways are trying to help people gain the academic skills, the credentials, from basic skills to degrees, employability, career planning, and soft skills, as well as occupational skills. I'll get to programs later on. I think this is kind of a key slide here. We really got very confused about what a system is, what a program is, what a career pathway is. And in talking to folks, we've really tried to think about that. So you'll see, I don't have the pointer, but at the top it says career pathway system. So the career pathway system, and Karon is part of, the career pathway, leads the career pathway system in Arkansas. It really is a partnership of the multiple agencies, of employer groups that are trying to align policies, funding, provide support for local system development. So they don't really have the system. They work in general with employers, but it's really happening at the local level. You have the local career pathway system, and you'll see there are two kind of segmented pieces there. Those segmented pieces, in our mind, are the programs. So there are career pathway programs. Cheryl talked about a program that has lots of good elements in it, but it's not the whole pathway from basics, from very low basic skills to advanced degree. Her program is a part of that, and she's in partnership with other agencies, with community colleges, with other groups. Some pathways are longer than others because of the occupation or the industry in which they are working. Some of them really build in the bridge component, the basic skill component. Some of them have that broken out. They lead to different credentials. So you have pathways, which are these segments, and these elements of it are really programs. Some programs are longer, as you see, than others. Some are very short, but are aligned and feed into the other programs. I only have 10 minutes, so I have to go really quickly. You will see in this bottom box that the career pathway systems are really all following a certain guiding principles that I think characterize these systems. They adopt and articulate a shared vision and strategy at both the state level and at the local level of career pathways, demonstrate leadership and commitment to institutionalizing career pathways, ensure that career pathways are demand-driven, and everybody talked about that, are focused on sectors in which there are good-paying jobs that help people advance in the economy. They engage employers. They align policies and measures and funding, performance measures and funding. They use and promote data and continuous improvement strategies. And they enhance the capacity of all of the providers in all of these various programs. You have another box at the local level, and I think what you've heard from each of the previous speakers are examples of just the kind of quality criteria of the programs. And they are participant-focused approaches to instruction and occupational training, contextualized basic skills instruction, accelerated learning, various kinds of, bridge programs, other kinds of strategies, and everybody has talked about those kinds of things. Probably didn't talk as much about assessment as I think you all could have, but assessment is a key part of that to help people not only with career planning, but also in placing them and helping them get the credentials they need and move along. Supportive services, people talked about that, ongoing navigation assistance, and a direct connection to employment. So this is really our conceptual framework, so that when we hear about all these good things, we try to figure out how do they fit together. And we really conceive the state, local, and federal systems as an ongoing feedback loop, where one informs the other, where federal policy needs to be implemented, interpreted, and then what you experience at the local level gets fed back in and hopefully improves at the other levels as well. So we will be coming out with our indicators for state systems, for local systems, for programs, and I know I'm going over, I'm sorry, next week, and they'll be going out to the states. Folks who are interested can come to the CLASP website and get access to those as well. We're going to do it in a somewhat controlled manner so that we can really get feedback. The idea is this is not ready for implementation. This is ready to get feedback, to get buy-in, to make sure that the language works for everybody. And that's part of the exercise here, is to get agreement between the community college people and the adult ed people and the TANF people about this is really what we're after. So we welcome your input. And the last slide is just to say that we have, this is in addition to what I was just talking about, an updated toolkit on federal funding for career pathways, talk about 10 key funding, so federal funding sources and how they can be used to support key parts of career pathways. And the newest part of the toolkit is really an appendix on support services, which is one of the hardest things to get funded. So by popular demand, we've included a career pathways support services appendix. Thank you.
Well, thanks to all the panelists. Those were excellent presentations, and I think now we have time for questions and a question and answer period. There are 2 microphones at the back of the room, so if you have a question, please go there, and then I'm not sure if we have any live stream questions. Looks like we've got somebody. Great.
Good morning. My name is Liz Nolan from the University of Pennsylvania School of Social Policy and Practice. And I'm doing some research right now in Pennsylvania that has a program that's funded by the Department of Public Welfare in cooperation with the community colleges. And one of the things I'm doing is thinking about these performance measures from the point of view of the women who are actually in the program. And one of the things that I'm finding out as I interview those women is that there seems to be this sort of tension between the requirements of the county assistance office and, of course, the performance requirements at the community college level. And that sometimes the way the program is implemented makes it actually more difficult for the women to do what they need to do. So in other words, it's setting up more barriers because of the pressures on either side. And I wonder if anyone on the panel has come into, if that problem has arisen in the work that you've done.
In Arkansas, 90% of our students are women, because the first criteria is that they must be the custodial parent. And we ran into that with our TANF funding. So we can cover child care, all the needs of women. We can cover the child care, the transportation, the tuition. We thought they'd all qualify for Pell. Like I said, we've learned a lot. Most of ours have a year of college, and they messed up somewhere. They got pregnant, they got on drugs, and then by the time when we sent our data off, they were 31 years of age. We didn't anticipate that either. So we are serving working poor mothers, and yes, the need is great. And I asked someone what a T-check was and was surprised to find out it's $67. Which doesn't buy diaper. Won't buy diapers a lot of times. So we do give our students, and we don't limit the support on them. We say, our goal is $1,500, but there may be someone that will need $3,000. But we got full permission to use all of our TANF funds to identify the barriers of women, and then supply all of those needs with our TANF funding. Does that help? Did I hear the question correctly?
Express it correctly, but what I'm talking about are more implementation issues. For example, when the women have to do 20 hours per week in addition after their 12 months, right? First of all, that's really not enough time to get an associate's degree. A 12-month certificate may be really difficult and not provide a family-sustaining wage. But the issue is, for example, their classes are 55 minutes long. That doesn't make up an hour. So where do they make up this extra hour or this extra 5 minutes without being sanctioned? Things like this, whereas, on the county assistance level, you know, from their perspective, they have to do that. But it just doesn't seem to, you know, just take into account the way the women live every day. That's kind of what
I would just add, and it's probably a naive response. First of all, I love that you're looking at it from that perspective, but the naive response in me is that we've found when we've gotten the leaders together from the various systems, about half of the rules can be thrown out right away because they were created, they aren't law, they aren't legislation, they're actually, you know, created a long time ago sort of thing. So again, probably naive response, maybe not real helpful, but are the community college presidents, the state legislators, the state whoever folks, et cetera, aware that there's a couple, and even if you could pick a couple of these examples to say this and this, couldn't we expand the class for 5 minutes or compress it to the regulation down? We've just been amazed at how many regs can be cut out of the discussion when you get the right people in the room.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, you know, at some point.
Yes,
I just wanted to add that performance, when you talk to people about what the hardest part of braiding funding is, it's always performance standards. And I'm sure TANF is probably the hardest one because it's really not outcome focused and has all of the work requirements and time requirements and process kinds of measures. But there's flexibility there as well, and there are lots of examples of how that can be done. The performance measures that we will be coming out with next week to get input from other folks are quite different. Not the measures themselves, many of them are not different. They're the same, you know, employment earnings, labor market outcomes, credential measures that people are using. But instead of being focused on the funding source, it's really focused on people within the pathway and trying to make that pathway more successful and looking at how people are moving along a pathway and then being able to allocate back to the funding source. But currently, all the performance is tied to the federal or state funding source that comes through, as opposed to the people who are moving through a pathway. And included in the proposed measures that we will be coming out with are really outcome measures as well as some interim measures to help measure people's progress along the pathway and not just at the tail end of it.
Thanks.
And I just wanted to follow up on that by saying that it really depends on the state also and their position. So in Pennsylvania, we are a work-first state. And so what we've done in our programs to help the TANF clients is to embed some real quick job training and help people to get some kind of ability to qualify for work, even if it's part-time, so that they can actually go to school and work at the same time. It's a big burden on them. It's not for everybody, but we have tried to do a workaround where we need to, so that there is work involved in their portfolio of activities, and it's not just education, because of the focus on work first. So I'd be happy to follow up after if you're interested, and tell you kind of a little bit more detail about that. But it has been successful with our nurse aid to LPN, for example. We've been very successful in combining the work experience with the education experience.
Great. It looks like we have another question coming.
Yes, my name is Cecilio Morales, and I'm with the Employment and Training Reporter. And I sort of want to ask a little bit of a contextual question about the whole career pathways things. I've first heard of career pathways sometime in the early 90s. So the idea is not new, but it's since the 90s, we've seen changes in policy, and if you've all been paying attention, last week, the Subcommittee on Appropriations said, oh, their ceilings for labor, HHS, and education went down 20%. How they're going to find the 20% to take out is another story. But that's an indication of where things are going federally, right? And I'm wondering, it seems to me as if what you're saying is that, well, the hell with whatever the federal government does or the state government does and whatnot, we're going to create a system for itself. Is that more or less what you're doing?
No to hell with, certainly. The working within and with the resources at hand, which of course are perennially underfunded. So regardless of what trough you're talking about, whether it be federal, philanthropic, private, corporate, whatever. So I think, I would call it something very different. I would call it innovation using all systems. No comment. How's that?
To add, I think the economy is demanding different outcomes from the workforce system, from community colleges. Community colleges are really being pressed on increasing completion and attainment of credentials and have increasingly really poor students who have multiple needs and who need more supports. So from each of the systems, from the economy and from each of the systems, it's all moving in the same direction, that we have to help more people get further with limited resources, and how do you pull those together at the local level? And I think you have exists at the state and local level, and I think that's what you are hearing about.
Thank you. I'm Jane Venor. I'm a Center for Policy Research in Denver, and I also teach at a community college, Colorado Mountain College, so I'm really excited to hear about this pathways research. In any event, at CPR, we do a lot of research on non-custodial parents, and it just struck me when you said the mothers. And has there been any movement in any of your states or any of the places where you've been studying these career pathways to expand these programs to non-custodial parents, particularly using TANF funds, that can be used if the child is eligible, the non-custodial parent's child is eligible for TANF, and so expanding the programs?
An excellent, something for us all to chew on and think about, I think. I will say that at OVE, we are thinking about career pathway models also in sort of as they apply to incarcerated individuals, and thinking about them as reentry models. And we have a grant out there right now. We're working with, I think it's 3 sites who are testing a reentry model that has all of the major components of a career pathways model. So thinking about different, and we're also thinking about this in terms of immigrant populations a lot. So I think thinking about the different subpopulations, the nice thing about career pathways, when you look at the key elements, they can work for lots of different populations, adults, dislocated workers, disconnected youth. So thinking about, it's really about folks who need, support getting through education. And into the workplace. So I think that as an approach, it should work for lots of different populations. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up here. I have one announcement that I want to make that should be of interest, we believe will be of interest to the research and evaluators in the audience and to everyone working with adults. The OECD's Program of International Assessment of Adult Competencies will be issuing its report, its international study. It's on October 8th. This is an international study that assesses adult skills or adult competencies across all of the OECD. And you're probably familiar with the OECD rankings because we're always hearing about where our country is in terms of post-secondary lately in the OECD rankings. This is going to look at where we are in terms of adult competencies.
At my office and the Department of Education, we're seeing this as a major opportunity to galvanize discussion around the needs for more investments in adult education, and we really encourage you to keep an eye out for that. Again, it's the OECD's PIAAC study, P-I-A-A-C, that's the Program of International Assessments of Adult Competencies. And it's also going to, in addition to releasing these international comparisons, there will be a US country report, and there will be all of the data will be available to researchers. And it's going to be a very rich data set. So we encourage you to stay tuned to that. So with that, I want to thank the panelists today. These were excellent presentations. I know I learned a lot. I hope you all did too. And thanks to all of you.